This is Adam Bernard with AutoPerspectives, and it is time for another look at what's been going on in the auto industry over the past week or so. And hopefully you've been keeping cool because it is hot out there, at least here in North America. And this week we have 3 small SUVs from 3 different automakers in 3 different countries. So let's take a look at what's new. We'll start with the Nissan Leaf. Now, you might remember the original Leaf was launched as a small hatchback back in 2010, yes, 15 years ago. And it did get a significant makeover in 2017, but now in the face of much more contemporary and efficient and interesting looking EVs, the current Leaf is getting a little long in the tooth. So Nissan has basically kept the name and ditched just about everything else, including the market position. The new Leaf is now a small SUV. It's actually a little smaller in footprint than the outgoing model, and it uses the Ampere Medium platform, formerly known as CMF EV, and that is shared with the larger Nissan Ariya, which is already in market. Nissan calls the design approach to the Leaf timeless Japanese futurism, which includes, in this case, a rather sleek fastback profile and a claimed drag coefficient of 0.26, which for an SUV is actually pretty good, especially for a smaller SUV because you've got less overall length to work with. Overall, I'd actually say it's a very attractive and contemporary looking vehicle. Nicely proportioned with nice details, not overly busy. It does get an available full width front light bar, which you see here, not on the base model, however, and that comes with a nice illuminated logo. The new Leaf also has an NACS port. The outgoing Leaf was one of the last to retain the CHAdeMO port, the Japanese spec charging port. So it actually has 2 ports here. The NACS port is for level 3 charging, so you can use the Tesla supercharger, and then it has a more traditional CCS port for level 1 and 2 charging. But adapters are still needed. If you pull up to a Tesla destination charger, which is not level 3, you will need an adapter for your CCS port in order to pull that off. So it's simultaneously a little more convenient and also a little more annoying because you still got to carry all that hardware around with you. The new Leaf features an available panoramic dimming glass roof with embedded polymer dispersed liquid crystal technology. We see that on some higher end vehicles as well, so seeing it on an entry-level EV is kind of cool. Underneath, the new Leaf uses an integrated motor, inverter, and reducer that's about 10% smaller and has about 75% fewer vibrations than the outgoing Leaf, and offers up to about 214 horsepower, which is not huge. You know, we're not talking a high performance EV here, but for a vehicle of this size, that's not too bad. The new Leaf also moves from air-cooled batteries to more efficient liquid-cooled batteries, and you get your choice of 52 or 75 kilowatt hours. That bigger battery will get you, according to Nissan, up to 303 miles on the EPA cycle, which is pretty good, especially considering the price point that we're working with here. And obviously that will change depending on the wheels and tires that you have. The fast charge rate here is 150 kilowatts, which is, again, pretty good for an entry-level EV, and Nissan claims that will get you from 10 to 80% in about 35 minutes. The inside is nice, and your eyes aren't deceiving you. This is kind of a tri-tone black, white, and what appears to be purple interior. So not just black plastic everywhere you look. There appear to be some nice materials in here, again, given the price point. The floor is almost completely flat. You get 2 screens up front, either 12.3 inch on the smaller Leafs or 14.3 inch on the high-end models, as you see here. Surprisingly, the new Leaf does not use Nissan's hands-free driving ProPilot system, but you do get a simplified version of ProPilot, which does include some driving assistance support. You can get the invisible hood, which basically uses cameras to make the hood in front of you look like it's not there, to make it easier to park in tight spaces. And the new Leaf will also include V2L capability, just like some of the better EVs out there, like those from Hyundai and Kia. And in Europe, you also get V2G as well. So V2L means you can plug in an electric device. V2G means you can deliver energy back to the grid, and in theory, you get paid for it by the electric utility company. There's also a new navigation-linked thermal conditioning function that optimizes battery cooling based on the selected drive route. The new Leaf is built in the UK and in Japan. There had been talk of maybe building in the US, but that was scrapped. Price is TBD. The current Nissan Ariya starts at $40,000, so I would expect the new Leaf to come in somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe $32,000 to $35,000. So not super cheap, not below the magic $30,000 price point. And again, being imported in the US means that even if the $7,500 tax credit somehow sticks around, it would not apply to this foreign built EV. But that being said, overall, this is a much better vehicle than the outgoing Leaf. Much more competitive, with more relevant technology, better performance, better range, and should do pretty well for Nissan on a global basis. We'll switch gears and powertrains, as it were, with the new Audi Q3. Now, this is not an electric vehicle. This is plain old garden variety internal combustion. You might have read that Audi recently scrapped plans to stop selling internal combustion after 2033. They will now retain internal combustion engines indefinitely, not unlike BMW. This is the third generation of one of Audi's best sellers. It is all new inside and out and uses an updated version of their very high volume MQB platform. Up front, those are high-mounted driving lights up front. They offer 4 different unique lighting signatures. And then below that, in the mask, as it were, that you see on either side of the grille, the single-frame grille, are matrix LED headlamps. And these are the first from Audi to use a module with 25,600 micro LEDs, which can offer a lot more control over the lighting pattern, and that ties into the assorted driver assistance technologies available to aid in lane changing, for example. Under the hood, a 1.5-liter mild hybrid gas or diesel engine if you're outside North America. Here in North America, we are likely to get a 2-liter turbo gas engine. There's also an updated plug-in hybrid. Volkswagen Group has been increasing the range. This plug-in hybrid will get about 65 miles of electric range on the EPA cycle. Not clear if it's going to be sold here or not. The new Q3 offers up to 11 colors and anywhere from 17 to 20-inch wheels. So if you're looking to reduce the complexity in this vehicle, that apparently was not a goal here. A lot of choices available. And the claim torque coefficient is 0.30. So remember I mentioned that the Nissan Leaf had about 0.26. So 0.30 is okay. But clearly there are some more aerodynamic, smaller SUVs out there. Among the bells and whistles, there's an available onboard emergency assistant, which will pull the vehicle over if the driver is unresponsive, and a trained parking system, which allows the vehicle to remember 5 different parking maneuvers. So, for example, if you have an assigned parking space at work, it will remember getting you in and out of that spot every day. Although, granted, given the footprint of this vehicle, you shouldn't really need too much help getting it parked. Around back, there is an LED tail lamp strip, and the tail lamps are optionally available with OLED technology. Again, getting you some cool lighting signatures. Some of the other fun bells and whistles include a cooled wireless charging pad. If you have a smartphone, if you've ever felt it get too hot, sometimes this will prevent that from happening. You can get a sliding rear seat. And the digital assistant on board includes a visible avatar, so you can actually speak to a little animated character on the touchscreen as opposed to, shouting into midair. You can see in the upper right there, it's an 11.9-inch IP cluster and a 12.8-inch curved touchscreen with a head-up display as well. And then at the top there, that funny-looking device, it replaces stalks. They call it a steering column module. So it includes things like controls for the signals and gear shift, but seems like it might work a little better. It's certainly better than what Tesla does, putting a couple of buttons on your steering wheel. And we think that if Audi likes this, and if customers like it, then we may see it propagate across other future Audis. It also includes controls for the wipers and washers. Inside, there are laser-cut door panels to enable some dramatic ambient lighting. And in a nod to sustainability, the interior materials include sustainably sourced wood and fabric made from recycled polyester and fishing nets. So overall, not really a significant change in formula from the 2 previous Q3s, just took a vehicle and made it a little better. And in the face of increasing competition, that plug-in hybrid will also help as well. Now, we do know that Audi is working on a new entry-level EV that will slot below the existing Q4, and so that could be seen as an electric counterpart to this particular vehicle. And finally, we will head over to Russia to Lada. This brand is over 50 years old. It was owned by Renault from 2016 to 2022, and then reacquired by Russia. So it is a state-owned brand, as it were. And this is the Azimut. The Azimut is the first new Lada SUV in nearly 30 years and will officially hit the market next year. But Lada was kind enough to provide us with some photos. As you can see, this is a much more rugged and edgy design than either the Leaf or the Q3. It's not dissimilar from Renault's Dacia, which comes out of Romania. Under the hood, it's very conventional, naturally aspirated, non-electrified 4-cylinder engines, up to a whopping 132 horsepower. And this is a new vehicle that offers a manual transmission for those of you who are looking for that. Or you can get an optional CVT. A 150 horsepower turbo will follow. Now, under the Azimut is the 10-year-old Vesta platform, which does get a new rear suspension. We think that the new Azimut is front drive only, so not really intended for a lot of off-road use. Front drive obviously helps keep the cost and the mass down. The interior, as you can see here, like the Leaf, is not just black plastic. There's some colors involved there. There's a 10-inch touchscreen. It's powered by Russia's Sber and a tech company called Navio. You do get wireless device charging available, as well as dual zone climate control and a power liftgate. Again, those really aren't game-changing technologies, almost a price of entry. But again, this is a pretty sophisticated entry coming from a pretty plain Jane brand. The price point for the new Lada is estimated at $32,000 to $38,000. So it's maybe a plain Jane brand. That is not a plain Jane price point. The aging Lada Niva starts at about $14,000. So they are looking to come up with a much more premium and one would imagine a high margin vehicle. And that about wraps things up with Auto Perspectives this week. Please visit autoperspectives.net for more information. And if you like what you've seen here on this episode, please subscribe and share with all your friends and colleagues. Thanks very much. Keep cool, and we will see you.